Addiction often starts with craving, appetitive, but over time, it's really just a habit, right? And so sometimes there's a stimulus that turns on the switch, but then once you start going, right, you think, well, I'm just going to have one glass of wine, but before you know it, the whole bottle is empty. Or I'm going to have one shot and the whole fifth is done. Addiction is just an extension of normal behavior. We all have to crave and then crave and withhold. And sometimes the circuits are just out of balance.
What does the future of addiction treatment look like?
I am so excited to say that I think the field of addiction, which has often been underrepresented in pharmaceutical research and device-based research, I think we're going to have our day coming soon. There's 3 pillars of how you treat any type of psychiatric disorder: counseling, pharmacotherapy, and brain stimulation. Until recently, we've known so much about the brain circuits that are involved in addiction. There's sort of a pushing and a pulling, like an angel and a devil on your shoulders. And you can either try to strengthen the angel circuit or inhibit sort of the devil circuit. And I can give you a whole talk on that, but just to be short about it, we now know that there are at least 2 really therapeutic strategies for using TMS, specifically deep TMS, to treat addiction. So deep TMS was FDA cleared in 2020 to treat smoking cessation, which is our first addiction indication. We are very much dedicated to looking into more addiction therapies. There's really great research on deep TMS for alcohol use disorder, deep TMS for cocaine use disorder, and deep TMS for a variety of behavioral disorders, including eating. So I think there's going to be some fun times coming up, and we look forward to working with you guys on that.
Absolutely. So we treat people for depression using TMS, which, as I said earlier, everybody has some sort of depression because it's on that spectrum. We're like, when do we become cleared to treat people for alcoholism, drug addiction, PTSD? When does that happen? Is that in the works, or is it a different coil? Or tell me about that.
So right now, from an FDA clearance perspective, there's smoking cessation would be considered on-label treatment. And that's done with an H4 coil. That coil targets a brain network called the salience network. So it has really strong field right here in the medial prefrontal, and also can hit the insula.
To get a free copy of the 12-step guide that I created for you, click on the link in the description below.
It's a brain network involved in craving. So that's sort of the coil that's being used for craving-related disorders. But then there's very strong research in 2 studies of about 50 people that have targeted the medial prefrontal, a little more dorsal. In this case, one of the studies was with the H7 coil, which is FDA cleared for OCD. And that hits more of the habit-like behaviors. And so, as you know, addiction often starts with craving, appetitive, but over time, it's really just a habit, right? And so sometimes there's a stimulus that turns on the switch, but then once you start going, right, you think, well, I'm just going to have one glass of wine, but before you know it, the whole bottle is empty. Or I'm going to have one shot and the whole fifth is done.
That's what happens. You have one chip and then you have a whole bag.
Exactly right. Eating. I like to think of addiction as really just
one TikTok video and then you're 4 hours, right?
Addiction is just an extension of normal behavior. We all have to crave and then crave and withhold. And sometimes the circuits are just out of balance.
Now, speaking of smoking cessation, we're talking about this. I don't know if I don't ever really hear people say, oh, I need to quit smoking. Not as many people smoke today as it seems like. That's what it seems like to me. Maybe it's just the people that I'm around. I don't know. It doesn't seem like as many people are smoking today as 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. That being said, I don't ever really hear people saying, oh, man, I need to quit smoking. So I don't know where my question is. It's like, are there people really seeing success from the smoking addiction protocol?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you might have a healthier population in Arizona than we do in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Okay.
But it's still the number one modifiable risk factor for lung cancer and breast cancer and a variety of cancers, actually, mouth cancer. So a lot of people are still trying to quit smoking. You see a lot is that use has gone down. Nicotine use is actually still extremely high, right? So people are vaping. Now people are basically, right. And so all of these are addictive disorders or behavioral disorders associated with a stimulant in one way or another. So I think even if it's not necessarily smoking tobacco in your area, reasonable to believe the neural mechanisms involved in smoking anything similar.
If you got value from this video, if you heard what you needed to hear, be sure to like it. Comment if you've got a question or you have something to say. Subscribe to the channel. Camelback Recovery provides treatment services for people struggling with mental health, mental illness, addiction, alcoholism, whatever it may be. So if you or a loved one is struggling and you need some guidance and you need some direction, reach out to us. Our contact information is down below, or you can go to our website, camelbackrecovery.com, whether it be detox, inpatient treatment, sober living, recovery coaching, sober companion services, whatever it may be. Like I said, we can either help you or make sure that you get sent in the right direction. We help people all over the country, all over the world for that matter. I'll see you on the next video.